be Tuesday, May 9th, and we'll see how well recording works and go from there as we start today's stuff. Let's see, we handed out new books if you're at home. We get new book. That was then, this is now, I've tossed out that you get to keep, and I'll give you bookmark and you'll write information in that we'll show there in just a moment. It's the last thing that we're going to be doing this year, which we'll talk about in a moment. Outsiders test is up on Skyward. Skyward is updated with all of that stuff that you are welcome to check. If you are wanting to redo the quiz, you can and get up to a C- if you're one of those kids who did not do well on it. If you've already redone it, I checked this morning and I emailed you back if you sent me an email, so you can go check those things, and then you should be good. After today, if you are wanting to redo it, you are welcome to. You just have to send me an email for me to go check it, and then you will be good. And I am done wearing Outsiders shirts because we have now finished Outsiders. So starting today through all of next week, I'll be wearing shirts that connect to the book my advanced class is reading, which is Princess Bride. And so I'll be going through a collection of shirts over that book. And then the last week I'll wear something else that we'll figure it out. And yeah, my birthday does come up in 9 days. I turn 47, but that's not till next Thursday.
You are old.
I'm telling you that all year.
That was rude.
Sebastian.
Happy birthday.
Thanks. Still a little early. Are you riding a roller coaster or asking a question? Okay.
I meant to say younger. You look younger than that.
I appreciate it.
I thought you were like 37.
Yeah, just on the inside. Jacob.
I find it funny how people think you are like saying, well, you're old as my dad's 62.
Yeah, he's got me beat by a little bit. Yes.
Have you a drink of water?
Sure.
Your dad is what?
Mallory.
62.
Wait. How old is your mom?
Well, that's why we have this thing called class where I get to explain stuff. I haven't said it yet. We just started.
That is a
What?
9 years difference.
That's like a license.
And they're home children. This is what you write inside of the new book, but you'll find out when we get there. Hi, Aunt.
So if I don't finish the quiz, does it drive my grade down when I get home?
Yeah.
Dang.
Tomorrow.
This is supposed to be done by the end of class?
Yes. If you read it, it takes 15 minutes. If you didn't read it, it doesn't matter. Problem solved. Tomorrow is our last day with this schedule, and then we get to go back to a fairly normal schedule. As of now, I think we have best next week, but they have canceled it in past years so that we have time for final exams. I do not know yet next week, so fingers crossed, we'll see what happens. And then this is the last week that I am selling the snacks over here, because next week it bumps up to the bigger snacks. This is not locked in, so this was last year's list. It all depends on what I can find when I go to Sam's Club, and I try to give you a chance to buy the bigger snacks, and you get to spend your points at the end of the year if you are wanting to. Excuse me. For the most part, you cannot spend below 25 points, so if you don't have 25 points, you're not buying anything anyway, so don't worry about it. Those of you who have a lot more points, you get a chance to buy some of the bigger things that are out there. If you finish the last day of school at 4 o'clock and you still have 100 B points or more, that's what puts you on the Century Club, where you get your name permanently added to my class. And it is ranked from highest B points to lowest B points. So if you finish at like 100, you're at the end of the list. If you finish several hundred, you'll be at the top of the list. So that's where it says ranked number 1 on Century Club, is each year it's ranked by how many points that you have. If you are wanting to sign podium, I'll be moving to the front of the podium this year, and you are welcome to sign that. It does cost 75 points to sign because it was aimed at just the big point-rich kids who were wanting to do it. You do have to have 100 points in order to sign it, because I'm not real good at math, but if you can't go below 25 and you can spend 75, 25 plus 75 equal. So other than that, you should be good to go as you start trying to plan things out. So this is my way for those of you who have a lot of points. If you are wanting to spend them, you get the opportunity to do so. If you don't want to spend them, that's fine. You can put them in your will someday when you die and give them to your grandkids. And they can have imaginary points that do nothing. But you can give them a little piece of paper that makes them feel really special. Outsiders, we talked about that. We're good. Kids out there taking tests. So as we go from Outsiders to this book, I am going to refer to it as Twttin. Twttin. The official name is That Was Then, This Is Now. But that is a long title and most kids get too exhausted. So I shorten it. Twttin. Twttin. So when you see me writing Twttin over here, it stands for That Was Then, This Is Now. Outsiders was easier. It was just a one-word title. But this one's way, way longer. Hi, Sebastian.
I did not even understand it last time.
Okay, good to hear. And so then as we get to the stuff from here, I changed how I am going to intro the book this year. And I am trying something completely new. And it's been an interesting journey today. And we're going to see how the journey goes with you guys. Because in the past I've done it where we have like the 5 things, and you tell me if you agree or disagree, and we go through and have a conversation. But I decided to try something different today. So I'm going to go through and explain to you why I chose this book and have a conversation with it about it that way. Because I get my choice of what I want to teach you. It's the joy of English over things like math and social studies where they get locked in. As long as it's reading, I get to choose the book that you read. And so I've settled on this one over the years, and there's a couple of reasons why that kind of connect to you guys. One, it's a sequel to The Outsiders. And that tends to be a book that, well, the kids who read it enjoyed it with what happened in The Outsiders. And so I like to give you a continuation of that. It takes place in the same town, does not follow the same characters, though. We're going to introduce 2 new characters named Mark and area, but they don't consider themselves greasers. There are characters that cross over. Ponyboy shows up, and starting in chapter 4, and then going from there through the end, he is one of the characters' friends and hangs out and talks to him and stuff like that. Randy, Bob's best friend, shows up for a little bit. And then if you remember, there's these guys called the Shepherds. There's Curly Shepherd and Tim Shepherd. Tim Shepherd was the bigger, older, scary guy that was out there that like threatened to beat up Dally at the movie theater and was at the Rumble. And then his younger brother Curly is when they kept being in jail. Ponyboy tells the story about them pushing cigarettes against their fingers. Curly plays a big role in this one too. It takes place 2 years after Outsiders. Ponyboy is now a junior. He was a freshman in high school, so 9th grade to 11th grade. They're going to talk about what happened to Johnny and Bob and Dally. That does get brought up, but it goes a different direction overall. Also, it's short. And I'm well aware that this time of year, most of you guys are starting to check out and not wanting to do work. So throwing a giant book at you was not going to happen. So this is one of the shortest books I can do that still actually has stuff in it that I can teach. So I chose it to try and make your life a little bit easier along those lines. And given, yeah, I know some of you guys are not going to read at all, and so be it. It is what it is. But we'll talk about that in a moment too. I will explain this. Oh, you're just one of several. It's not a problem. I wasn't attacking you for it. That's what we get from it.
So what's that mean?
So this is the first book I remember that made me cry when I was a teenager. It's actually one of the few. There's not a lot of books I remember reading that made me cry. And I know I read Outsiders, but I didn't cry during Outsiders. And I'll explain to you in a moment why I cried during this book. And it was not for a death. There is death in the book, but it wasn't the death that did it to me. It was something else that happened in the book that we'll get to. And because this had that big impact on me as a kid, I figured I would share it with you. But here's where we get to more of how it connects to you guys. I have 2.5 weeks left with you, and that's it, which for me is a little rough overall. Unlike a lot of teachers who really look forward to summer break and kids who look forward to summer break, I don't. I don't look forward to summer break, and the end of the school year ends up making me more depressed than excited because I love what I do. I love teaching. I love being in the classroom with you. Even when you drive me nuts, and you have many times, this is my happy place, is being in a room with you guys. And as much as I like spending time with my own kids and working on projects over the summer, I don't get to do the thing that I feel I was put here on earth to do, which was be with you guys. So I don't want to waste the last 2.5 weeks I have with you giving you something that I think is crap work. So I picked something that is meaningful to me, because at least then it has some weight to it. When I started teaching years ago, I thought, no, let me go a different direction. I became aware that kids' home lives weren't always what I thought they were. And a lot of kids' home lives are crap, are not good whatsoever, which I should have known because my home life was not the best growing up, which is one of the stories I'll tell you as we get to the end of the year. But part of that learning, no, let me change it again. Sorry, I've told this differently each class period so far. Let me tell it this way instead. I like The Outsiders because The Outsiders is a fun story, but I don't think it connects to your life. I'm not really worried about you guys getting caught up in a murder scandal. I'm not worried about you guys being in a burning building throwing children out of windows. I'm not really worried about you guys getting in a big rumble and getting in a fight. That's a fun story to read, but it doesn't connect to who you are. This book connects to who you are. And the reason I say that is Ponyboy was a good kid, and the main character in this book is not. The book opens with him telling you that he lies, he cheats, he is not good to women, that he drinks, and that he is not a good person overall. And what I want to do is find a way to help guide you. Because if you guys were not aware of it, there are kids at our school, Fisher's Junior High, who drink, who smoke pot, who vape, who do drugs, and who make poor choices. And I don't know how many of you guys are aware that we have those kids at our school, but we absolutely do. And I'm very aware of it because I have kids who come back and talk to me. For some reason, I'm that teacher that kids talk to. And I have 8th graders who come back and talk to me. I have 7th graders who stay after school and talk to me. I still have high schoolers who come and talk to me on a regular basis that make me aware of these things. And if you are unaware that we have kids at our school who do that, you will be by the end of next year. It's impossible to get through 8th grade without knowing somebody who makes those choices here at our school. You'll become more aware of what's around you. What becomes scary for me is that those kids are someone's friend. It is going to be one of your friends, for many of you, that you are going to have a friend who goes down that path. What this book deals with, as opposed to The Outsiders, is it follows a kid who has to make that choice. What do you do when your best friend, the one you've had forever, the one you swear would never go down that path, makes those choices? Because you don't always know what home life your friends have. And one of the things that this book does a good job of, that Life points out, is drugs work. Kids do drugs for a reason. Drugs get rid of pain. It's why kids do them. There are kids who have really bad home lives at our school, and they don't know how to get away from that pain. Drugs become their escape from that pain, and I'm aware of that. This book addresses that in a very real way, where it follows a kid who is presented with that choice of what do you do when your best friend starts going down that path, and you have to decide, what are you going to do? Between now and either the end of 8th grade or at the very least at the end of your freshman year, 9th grade, you will be presented with the choice of either choosing a friend and staying with them while they make poor choices or ditching that friend. It happens to almost every student I've had come through my class. You are going to have to make that choice, and it sucks when you do. When I tell you this book made me cry, that was why. It happened to me also. My freshman year, my 2 best friends, Mike and Mark, who I had spent all of my elementary and junior high days with, spent nights, every birthday, we hung out nonstop. Their home lives were even worse than mine, and my home life was not the best. And I watched them start drinking and get invited to parties, and I got invited to those same parties, and I had to decide whether I stuck with those friends or I went a different way. And I couldn't go with them because of the story I'll tell you the last week where I got arrested. And I couldn't be with them for fear of going to jail. And so I had to abandon my best friends. And it sucks having to make that choice. I don't get to be with you after 2.5 weeks from now. If you choose to not see me after the next 2.5 weeks, I won't see you again. I don't see you unless you come seek me out. This is my last time to have an impact on you. My last time to try to guide you in some way. That's why I choose this book. If you don't read this book, it doesn't destroy me. I'll be honest. I'll be disappointed. But it's a life choice you get to make. If you blow off this book and fail the quiz and test, it's probably not going to impact your grade because of how I teach. I front load my class, meaning that you have a whole lot of big grades early on. And I do that on purpose because I know kids start to tune out towards the end of the year, and I don't want you to tank your grade. So I make it tougher and tougher for you to fail my class as the year goes along. So if you blow off this book and don't read it, blow off the quiz and blow off the test next week, the most that will happen is it'll probably drop you half a letter grade, from a C to a C minus, from a C plus to a C or something like that. But what scares me more is the fact that I know you guys have choices coming up in front of you, and it scares me to think about the choices you're going to end up making. And I want to have conversations with you because I am aware that many of your parents treat you like you're a little kid still, because that's what parents do. They're going to treat you like you're a little kid for as long as they can. But the problem is the world is no longer going to treat you like a little kid. The world is not going to care if your parents treat you like a little kid. The world is going to treat you like you were a young adult. And the world is going to give you some really tough, sucky choices coming up. And I don't want you guys to screw up your life. It's the drawback to you making me care about you. When you care about somebody, you don't want them to screw up their life. So that's why I chose this book. That's why we're going to go into it. Tomorrow, we get to actually start the reading. Try to go find a happy thing.